Hi everyone, it's Angie here at Beads and Plenty More in Calgary, and I thought I'd show you how to do a pearl knotted mala necklace today. Before I mount the camera and I give you some close-up views of what I'm doing, I thought I'd take a moment and just show you what I've got laid out here down on the mat. So what I have here is my necklace laid out. It's 108 beads. These are 6mm beads, and I've used semi-precious beads on this. So I've got my tassel at the bottom. I've got a freshwater pearl above it. And the nice part about this particular freshwater pearl is it has a nice large hole, so it'll be great as a guru bead. And then I've got some lava stone, agate, jasper further up, black labradorite, more lava stone, and then black onyx at the back. So a lot of the stones I've picked out are actually grounding stones, which means they're about relieving anxiety and stress and so on, which is great for a meditation necklace. So what I've got here is I've got natural silk cord. This is Griffin silk cord. There's 2 meters there. I've picked out size number 6. Now this is going to depend on the size of the hole of the bead, not necessarily the size of the bead. So if you were going to knot something like peridot stones, which are notorious for having smaller holes, you would actually need a smaller size of bead or of cord. So that's something to keep in mind. You want to check the hole size of your beads, not necessarily the size of the beads. And then I've got my pearl knotting tool at the back here. So let's get started. So here we are ready to get started. I've pulled all the cording off of the card that it was on, and I've got the tail end of it here. And I'm going to leave just a little bit of a tail end here and tie an overhand knot just right above it. So around the loop, through the loop. And then I'm ready to get started with my beads. So you can go ahead and pre-thread a bunch of these beads. I'm going to thread 2 or 3 just to start and show you how to do it. So the other end of my cording has a needle on it. And I'm just going to grab the first 3 or 4 beads here and thread them down on the cord. Let's put 5 on. I'm just going to pull them down most of the cord because we can put this cord aside and worry less about getting extra knots in it and so on if we just set it aside. Okay, so I'm just going to get this other cord out of the way and we're ready to begin knotting. So here's where the knotting tool comes in. So knotting tools have an awl, and then they've got a notched hook here that basically helps you slide the cording off of the awl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1 bead down next to the knot I tied, and I'm going to create a loop. So I'm creating an overhand loop, so I'm round and through my loop, and then I'm going to slip the awl part of my knotter into that loop that I've created. Now this is where you have to watch that you don't pull it off of the awl. Sometimes it helps to put a finger there because I want to get this as tight as possible. So I've slipped the extra cord into the notch, and I'm just going to pull up, and what happens is my bead sits right in place there. So my knot's nice and tight. Pull another bead down, and again I'm going to loop my cord around and through, and when I've got my overhand knot here, you want to grab it so that you're grabbing the single end of it. Pull it nice and tight. I like to tip my point up a little bit here because I find that I have less of a chance of slipping it off of the end when I'm doing that. So, and one thing to watch is that you don't have an extra little gap of thread on the one side or something. So you want to make sure it's good and tight before you slip it into the notch here, and you just slide it up. There we go. There's another knot, nice and tight. So at this point, you're just working along until you've got all your beads on. So I told you earlier that there was 108 beads. There's 108 of the 6mm beads, and then the guru bead is actually the 109th bead. So I gave you misinformation. I'm sorry about that. So I'm going to work along and get my necklace all knotted up, and when we get back down to the guru bead, I'll talk a little further about that. All right. So here I am at the other end of the mala, and I'm doing just the last couple knots here. This time I'm pulling the cording through instead of pulling all my beads through, because I've got a lot of beads on the thread here. So I'm just pulling this one up tight, and we'll just hook it into the little notch. Okay, and last bead here. I've got my last little white one here. So I'll create my loop here. All right, so now we're ready to talk about that guru bead and the tassel as well. So I've got my pearl bead here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down it with my thread. And then we're going to hook onto our tassel. So I'll come through it. Around. So what I've created there is I've got a little half hitch to hold it on. And I want to get that nice and snug up to the bead, because I don't want that bead nice and moving around too much. All right. So we've got that snug, and then I'm just going to come back up the bead with my cording. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just tie my two ends together so that they end up sitting side by side. So we'll just do a square knot here, or I could do a surgeon's knot, I suppose. So right over left and around. And then the second part of this is exactly the opposite. So left over right. And because I've got the short end on the right side, I'm going to bring the right end around, but it won't matter. And I'm going to do a surgeon's knot, so I'll loop it one extra time there. And pull everything nice and tight here. Now, the advantage of doing the knot there is that I can pull it into my guru bead here, so it disappears a little bit. So I can take the tail end and just thread back down into the guru bead. And just pull the knot in. So before I get the knot too far in there, I'm going to put a bit of glue on it. So I've got the GS Hypo Cement here, and I'm just going to add some glue to the bead. And then just pull it in so it disappears. Another place you may want to add some glue is right on the binding of your tassel, just to keep it from pulling loose later. So there we are. Necklace is done. So I hope you enjoyed that, and look forward to seeing you in the store. Have a good day.